Okay, welcome to the Trauma Safe Lab. Today we have Ronda Holman, author of Breathe Better, a book we didn't know we needed, that we didn't know was a problem that could be fixed, but Ronda has a lot of solutions for it. And Ronda, I think you were in the Air Force, correct? Yeah,
Yeah, I
perfect.
was Air Force from 1999 to 2003.
Okay, thank you for your service. And so walk us through your personal journey and the motivation with your own undiagnosed airway issues, the floppy tongue, as you called it, and share what that looks like and how you became passionate about airway health.
This is my favorite subject to talk about, Jennifer, so I am so excited to share with the audience. I am a recovering mouth breather and a former floppy tongue owner. As a child, all I can remember is just always being sick, always having a lot of cavities in my baby teeth. My grown-up teeth grew in crooked and crowded. I always had ear infections and throat infections. I actually got held back in kindergarten because I couldn't pay attention. And then yeah, my whole youth, I never enjoyed learning. It was so hard to wake up, so hard to go to bed. I was constantly sick, and none of that really. My parents didn't know what was wrong with me. They just thought just like a failure to thrive kind of kid. But she's living, she's going to school, she's doing all the things, she's riding a bike. And I just kind of grew into my airway disorder. You see, what happened was I was depriving my brain of oxygen every night. I was suffocating my tongue essentially because my mouth was open and my tongue was falling back. And the more you breathe through your mouth, the more problems you have with nasal breathing, because the nose is a use it or lose it organ. So the more I mouth breathe, the less I could actually breathe through my nose. And this went on my whole life. I mean, I remember having sinus infections at least twice a year, short-term memory issues. Prime example, my husband and I would be driving by something and I'd be like, oh my gosh, did you see that car? And then he would say, yeah, you say that every time we drive by this place.
Oh my God.
Okay,
It's
that's
like, oh my
weird.
God,
Like, I don't remember telling you ever. And
Oh
yeah, so I worked in dentistry for the last 26 years.
my.
And I started jumping into sleep breathing about 10 years ago. I went to a conference about oral sleep appliances. And so the whole day was spent talking about people who were diagnosed for a CPAP and wouldn't tolerate it, and how us dental professionals could make them a piece of plastic they could sleep in that would bring their jaw forward and their tongue up and out of their airway. And then they, could use that instead. But I mean, that was like 7 hours of education, and not one single expert said why people couldn't breathe when they slept. And I felt so curious. And I knew they were talking about me. Like, I was like, I know I struggle to breathe every night. I wake up with a dry mouth. I have headaches. I'm clenching and grinding my teeth. I get up multiple times to use the bathroom at night. I don't remember dreaming, and I toss and turn. I wake up with like problems in my neck. Sleep is supposed to be restorative and reparative, and I would like wake up in pain. I'm like, sleep, you hear that all the time. Like, I must have slept wrong. I'm like, no, were you breathing wrong? And then you ended up moving your body in this weird position so you could get more air.
Nice.
And, so I just started digging. There's got to be a cause. Like, I couldn't be the only one wanting to know what happened to me so that I could reverse engineer it.
It might be a slight lag, but we can cut it out or we can repeat it again.
Would it be easier if we went on Zoom and I could just send you the audio?
Nope, because I was going to say something about the conference. I wonder if you also felt something else to sell people, right? Did you get that feeling? Because what problem were they solving? You weren't really sure. They weren't explaining what the problem was, but here they had a device for it, right? So it almost kind of felt a little bit like commercialism, capitalism, right? And why do you think it's often...
When I was in that conference...
Go.
I'll let you go.
No.
When I was in that conference, like I said, they spent 7 hours talking about the solution, but not the problem. And the problem was people can't breathe while they sleep through their nose, slow and silent. And a lot of times what happens is a condition called obstructive sleep apnea. So that's where your body parts start choking you. So it's important, if you're starting to like learn a little bit about sleep breathing, there's typically 2 categories. There's obstructive sleep apnea, where you're choking on your own body parts. And then there's central sleep apnea, where your brain isn't sending signals for you to take the next breath. So they're like completely different. So if somebody says, I have sleep apnea, it's really important to know which one, because they're treated differently. If it's a, central sleep apnea, that's something that you need to see a neurologist for. That has nothing to do with you choking on your own body parts. That is usually like a vitamin, nutrient deficiency, some type of issue neurologically. Signals aren't getting fired. And then the obstructive sleep apnea, that happens typically over time. However, there are some kids that suffer with obstructive sleep apnea, and
Oh.
you'll see them like they'll get a CPAP, which is actually really heartbreaking to see because children are growing and developing. And if they have a mask on their face, it's going to make the condition that they're struggling with a little bit harder. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, they're breathing consistently while they sleep, but this mask is holding their face from growing forward, making it easier to breathe through their nose. And with obstructive sleep apnea, it's a spectrum, you guys. It's always a spectrum. It usually starts with audio, like audible breathing during sleep. So healthy, normal sleep breathing is slow and silent through your nose. Like, you should not be able to hear the person breathe. That is healthy. Like, that's something very few people actually get to experience nowadays because of our modern lifestyle. But then you go to audible breathing. They call it purring, or, I can hear them breathing through their nose. Then it goes, I can hear them breathing through their mouth. And then it's like, oh, well, they snore when they're, here and there, like, and throughout the night. And then, oh, they snore all night. Oh, they only snore when they're on their back. And then it gets to, and this is where it's really hard for couples. If they're in the same bed, it's an adaptation process for the healthy sleep breather to get used to sleeping next to the snorer. So what'll happen is it's like 5 years of frustration. Like, okay, he's snoring or he's not going to stop. And then it goes to, I didn't hear him snore. So that's when you wake up because your body is like, oh no, because they stopped breathing. And so the way obstructive sleep apnea is, it's 10 seconds or more, you're not breathing. And a lot of people wake up gasping for air, coughing and choking, and they have no clue what happened, but it pulls them out of that deep restorative sleep, puts them back in light sleep. And then this happens on repeat. Some people do it, multiple times an hour. And so they're stuck in light sleep all night long, and they're always waking up tired now.
With headaches and migraines too, and irritability. Does the volume of the snore, is that an indicator of the severity of the sleep apnea?
No, actually it's not. So here's the thing. If you're snoring, that means you're still breathing. Obstructive sleep apnea, again, is when you stop breathing. So that's when you don't make sound. So some people, they get lucky and they just snore. They never get to obstructive sleep apnea. And they usually call that upper airway resistance syndrome, where there's just enough resistance to airflow where you're making all these sounds, but you still have airflow. So you're not truly desaturating in oxygen where it really, it affects your sleep quality, but you're not breathing.
So I had a sleep study. I had 2 of them done, and one that confirmed that I have a REM sleep disorder. And they said that the way it was worded in the report was hypopnea or, hypoapnea, something like. So I was like, is that sleep apnea? Because the hypo is just low. It's not apnea is apnea, right? Apnea is absence of, but hypoapnea, I'm like, a little bit of not there. What does that mean?
So the way it works is apnea and hypopnea. So it's not breathing and then the duration of not breathing. So an apnea event, like I said, has to be 10 seconds or more to be considered apnea. So hypopnea can be just a struggle or a delay in breathing.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I have. What's the difference in the outcomes, you think, or the treatments? Does that matter at all if you have one versus the other, or it's just all sleep apnea?
There's so many treatments. For sleep apnea right now, like, let's say you go to the doctor and they say, we're going to take a sleep test, find out what's happening. Oh yes, you're suffocating at night. Here is the gold standard, which is a CPAP. So that's continuous positive airway pressure, where they put a mask on either your full, like your nose and your mouth, or just on your nose. And it pushes air in and out, like it pushes air down for you. Like, so in case you do get to the point where your tongue and your upper airway collapses, the air will push past the soft part. So you keep breathing. Unfortunately, that's the gold standard, but there's a lot of options. Orofacial myofunctional therapy, which is strengthening the muscles of the upper airway so you can breathe better when you sleep. It has been shown to reduce obstructive sleep apnea by 50% alone.
Wow.
That's without changing anything. That's without losing inflammation. That's without diet and lifestyle change. Like, that's without sleep hygiene. Simply just making the muscles stronger. You can breathe better. But they don't suggest that first, unfortunately, because here's the thing. Medicine's really good at prescribing you something or cutting something or,
Right.
rearranging the parts. They're not so good at like behavior modification and getting people to change the way they are at home. It's a lot harder to do.
Yep.
I mean, if it's really severe, they have a new thing. It's called Inspire. It's a tongue stimulator. It's like a pacemaker for your tongue, if you will. So it's a little catheter that comes up and through the side of your tongue. And there's a little box that can tell if you are desaturating oxygen. And so if it's like, oh, you're not breathing, then it sends like a little electrical shock to your tongue and it pushes it up and out the airway.
Oh my God, I'm gonna
Yeah.
look this up when we get. I'm gonna reach
It's
out to
wild.
them.
But I mean, some people, like I said, yeah, it's what I'm good at putting things in your body or cutting them or putting stuff on your face. I'm not really good at getting you to do exercises.
So I asked my pulmonologist. So how me and you met, to the audience, how me and Rhonda met is we have a mutual contact, Tiffany, who I know from LinkedIn. She's a speech language pathologist, and once me and her were geeking out on a ton of science, healthcare stuff. And next thing I know, she's doing like a text message kind of assessment on me, like where we're sending pictures of each other with like fingers, and I'm like, is it a 2-finger open mouth or 3? And I'm like, how does she know this about me? And yeah. And so my husband's walking around all week like, I could do 3 fingers, you're only 2. And I'm just like, why is this a competition? So, that led me to realize like, oh wow, this is like, how come nobody's talking about this? How come it's not part of like an annual assessment? How come so I totally believed in Tiffany. She gave me some work, a lot of stuff that I was like, wow, she's so smart. Like I'll try, like put her in my will, like I trust her, right? And then that led her to adding me into the group with you, which I felt so honored. I'm like, oh my God, somebody wrote a whole entire book about mouth breathing. Like this is nuts, and I have to know her. And I started doing the exercises, which I'm like, okay, okay, do that. I was like, I don't see how this will work, but okay, I'm here for it. If you wrote a book on it, I'm sure it works. And it really works. I got those boom boom sticks or whatever they're called. Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and even when I'm trying to sleep, I like kind of keep my tongue towards the front of my mouth. I mean, these things really work. I have never consistently breathed out of my nose before in a single day, like maybe a few hours at a time. But usually when I try to breathe out of my nose, I can't. And it's not congested. It just feels like I can't, like it's blocked, and I don't know what it's blocked with. I've tried blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I did what you said, which is basically just keep breathing out of your nose, and it worked. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, now I'm a nose breather. I have not had a clogged nose since. I have not had to remove the normal gunk that used to be in there. I don't have to remove it anymore because it's just not there. My tongue's not dry anymore. I don't have, like, my morning breath was so stinky because my mouth was so dry. And I just feel so grateful to you. So I scheduled an airway-centric dentist appointment, like Tiffany suggested, right? I think it was like $600 to see them. And if they do some palate expander, it's like $4,500. This is in the Pittsburgh area. I'm sure it varies. I don't think it's covered by insurance, but I'm just kind of telling what happened. So I told my pulmonologist, hey, this is the situation. And he's a sleep specialist. He's a critical care pulmonologist and sleep specialist. And I said, hey, I'm going to this airway-centric doctor. I just want to let you know in case you want me to tell them or ask them anything, basically triangulate the communication. And he literally said, I can't offer any help because what are they going to do? Try to get you off sleep? The CPAP, it's working. Why do you want to get off of it? I'm like, why do I want to be on it? So I'm curious, have you had people reach out to you and say, I'm free of the CPAP finally, or my doctors, there's resistance here? I can't believe it. Why would anybody want to be on devices if they don't have to be? It's not good for the sex life.
Well, if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. It just is what it is, especially medicine. If you weren't taught it in school, then it doesn't exist. It's not a real thing, and it's some woo-woo stuff. But I think the true ability of like a really intelligent person is the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And if you're not exposed to this information, it doesn't sound doable because they don't teach you that it is a possibility to reverse it. They think it's a lifelong sentence and that the only solution is plastic.
And that's what he told me. I said, well, what ways I can
Yeah.
resolve it? He said, you can. You'll have it your whole life. I never met anybody that got off of it.
And there's going to be more cases in the next, I would say, 10 years that are going to help people realize that it's not a terminal diagnosis. Like it doesn't have to be your fate for the remainder of your life. People are really good about being advocates for themselves. And they're getting to the point now where they're like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. All you people want to do is give me band-aids. Tell me how this happened so I can reverse engineer and make myself better. Like, give me the power back. All I need to know is what to do. And then I have the choice of whether I want to do it or not.
Right.
Depends on how much I hate CPAP.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so this might be my own ignorance, or maybe just the military, it's very prevalent in the military for them to develop sleep apnea. And I wonder why more in that population. Is it the trauma that causes the sleep apnea? Why do they have it more?
So, as a veteran myself, I can tell you firsthand why it happens. So, I was already a dysfunctional breather when I went to the military, but the longer you're in it, like the whole culture around the military was work hard, play hard. And so, a lot of us consume alcohol, and we're doing these extreme diets to stay fit and keep our muscle tone, but live these insanely unhealthy lifestyles. They don't prioritize sleep. I remember right after 9/11, I had worked a whole day shift and they put us on 24-hour watch. So, like the whole compound the base was on lockdown. And I had to go work like door duty. I had to work at a hospital, monitoring who could come in and out. And so I was up for like 48 hours. And
Wow.
there was no one who was like concerned about sleep hygiene or getting the appropriate amount of rest. There's a weight program, but there was not like let me check your sleep program so you're an optimal soldier. And so I think it's a lot of the culture and the work hard, play hard, like I said, and they just don't prioritize it. So, I mean, here's one thing too that people don't realize, that the more muscle you have around your upper airway, like if you have a really thick neck, that alone can make it hard to breathe when you sleep. Because you guys know muscle weighs more than fat.
Right.
So, I mean, I have tons of patients that, are very fit people. They're like 3% body fat. Yeah. And they struggle to breathe when they sleep because everything, this is a flaccid tube. And we need to get air from these two holes all the way down to these two balloons. And if there's a lot of weight on this hose, it will collapse.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Now when I go to the gym, I'm going to look at people differently. Man. So why do you call it the floppy tongue? Did you coin this term or was it already language?
I think I did. It wasn't language that I was reading in the books. You see, when I came into sleep disordered breathing, the only books that were available, and I have the whole stack of them, like anything I could buy, I bought. And I read them all because you know how, once you hyper focus on a subject, all you want to know is everybody's opinion. And they did a really great job about talking about the problems, but none of them really talked about solutions. And I was like, well, this is a shame because like all these people are telling me what's wrong with me, but no one is telling me how to reverse engineer and fix it. And so I was on an interview once and I was like, yeah, it's like my floppy tongue's choking me at night. And she was like, that's hilarious. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. It's my tongue doesn't stay suctioned to the roof of my mouth. I mean, it does now, but it didn't then. And so my jaw would fall back, my soft palate would occlude my airway, and my tongue would fall back and make airflow harder to get in from my nose. And not to even mention the fact that I was mouth breathing half the time. And so when you're mouth breathing, of course, your tongue isn't going to stay in the right place at night while you sleep to hold up your soft palate. It's going to be down for you to get air past. And it's just so irritating. You guys, the minute you open your mouth while you sleep and you start breathing, you just irritate all those upper airway tissues. You make them inflamed. It's just you're skipping all the filtration of the air around you. Like, because the nose, it filters the air, it warms the air, it humidifies the air, and it slows it down. Like, you need those 4 things to happen before you put it into your lungs for you to be like a healthy human. If you skip those 4 steps and you send it straight in the food hole, and the only filtration you really get is your tonsils, and I don't even have those. Like, they took those out when I was a kid because I was struggling so much. And so I was constantly bombarding my body, my lungs with awful, unfiltered, cold air. And it was just, like low grade chronically makes you tired and worn out and dysfunctional.
Oh my God. I love these words you use, choking on your body parts, floppy tongue. This is great. So if you're a nose breather, can you still get sleep apnea?
Yes, because it's about the tongue and the weight on the upper airway. So if you think about it, like a lot of people, they start lip taping, right? It's a big fad now. And I get it, because if I hadn't lip tape, I never would have gotten this far, because it was like life changing. Just breathing through my nose, I had no idea how much better my sleep would be. But a lot of people will do the lip tape, but they won't do the tongue work. And so the tongue still falls down and back, and it's not holding up the soft palate. So it makes it hard for air to get in and out of your nose. It's interesting. Like when I first tried this, I was still really inflamed, making poor choices, bad sleep hygiene. I mean, you name it, I was doing it. If I had I was like caffeine afternoon, I was using nicotine, I would do alcohol at night for sedation. I did it all, right? All the wrong things. And so I would tape
Yeah.
my lips at night, and then I would start snoring through my nose. And I remember my husband waking me up one night and he's like, "You're snoring." I'm like, mm-hmm. Like I didn't think that was possible. I thought the only time I snored was through my mouth.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's funny. Back to the drawing board.
I was like, well, this isn't the only solution, is there? There's got to be more to this.
So when you started doing this research, did your family think like you don't have anything better to focus on, Rhonda? Or like, where are you going with this? Or, I'm sure they know who you are. So they're like, okay, there's a reason. Let's see the outcome.
It's interesting. The way this whole sleep breathing thing works is because it takes so much behavior modification to actually change the way you breathe when you sleep. A lot of people, they're either they don't like change. Change is hard, and you really got to want it. And most people don't get bad enough to want it. And so it was interesting. Like when I first came home and started, like I have young kids. Well, I had younger kids then, but I would be out with the family and like, oh, close your lips. And, a family member would be like, why are you telling them to close their lips? I'm like, they shouldn't be open. We're on a boat. We're looking at the scenery. Why are their lips open? And they're like, oh, that's not a thing. And so there's a lot of resistance because this isn't common knowledge. It's not something the MDs are talking about. It's not something you see on TV where people are like, oh, you're afflicted with sleep disordered breathing. Like they don't talk about it. It's a very underserved topic. And so it's really interesting because when you tell somebody that mouth breathing makes you sick and they know they're a mouth breather, then that means they're getting sick. And that denial thing it's a rough one.
Yeah. Because what I'm learning, especially after being a nurse, but also after talking to a lot of people about these various different topics, something else that comes up is if there's no name for it, if there's no label for it, or if there's no solution for it, then people don't want to address it because where's it going to go, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
solutions are more, you can get them out more and more people can hear about them and more people will come forward and say, yes, I am a mouth breather. I want to learn these techniques. I want a strong tongue.
Yeah, you will know things have shifted when people stop laughing at people snoring. I think that culturally, as soon as that happens, we'll know that they're waking up to it.
I like that.
If you knew how bad snoring was to somebody's health and what it indicates, and you wouldn't find humor in it, you'd just be sad. Like I cry when I hear people snore now because I know too much.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that because their brain's being deprived of oxygen, basically. You're like,
yeah, they're suffocating, or even if they're not suffocating, they're not getting good sleep. So they're going to make up that sleep with synthetic stuff, like I said, sugar, refined sugars, caffeine, alcohol. They're going to make poor choices because you can't make good choices when you're tired chronically. You're just going to try to survive.
Yeah. So do you ever, I have a wearable, faceless wearable, and it tracks, my sleep, respirations, heart rate variability, tracks light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep. It tracks everything. I love it. It's helped me adjust some of my behaviors throughout the day or get more support, from my husband. Have you used a wearable during any of this process or any practices, or do you recommend people use wearables to kind of see positive results?
Absolutely. Okay, so here's what I've been using: a Apple Watch wearable tracker. I've tried all kinds. Like there was a Ring one, I tried a mat one, but I like the Apple Watch because it's the only one FDA cleared to track sleep apnea. It can actually, if you show that data to your MD, because it has FDA clearance, they can say, okay, well, we'll get a sleep test because your Apple Watch is, I think it's 9 and above, is saying that, there could be an existence of sleep apnea. So I kind of like that, but I've always used the Pillow app. It's on my Apple Watch, same kind of metrics. Just understand it's about 70% accurate. It's not an in-lab sleep test. It's not a home sleep test, but it is something to give you metrics so that you can manipulate your days to manipulate the metrics. Like even if it's not accurate, it's going to show you if you're doing something better for your sleep breathing or if you're doing something worse for your sleep breathing throughout the day. Like, because every day you get a restart. I get to go to bed that night and say, oh, that action or thing I did made my sleep breathing worse. I'm going to omit that from today.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
only thing I see about the track, I love tracking. I think everybody should track, but there's some trackers who they don't look at it with subjective eyes. Like, okay, this is only 70% accurate. They'll look at their sleep score in the morning and be like, oh, it's a 52. My day's shot. And so they'll let it dictate how much effort they put into their day. And it's kind of like, that's not what it's there for. It's not there. It's not a test. You're not failing. Don't be discouraged. Keep in the front of your mind is subjective feedback. The minute you wake up, am I sleep breathing better? Is my sleep getting more restorative? And even if your watch even if your watch says something to another effect as far as your sleep quality, a lot of it is subjective. Like, you can't let the technology rule you, but I don't sleep without it. I like those metrics.
Yep, me too. Actually, this month I had 73 for my sleep score, like 0 to 100. And I mean, I haven't tracked it only the last few months, so I don't know what it would have been, but I'm pretty sure I've never reached 73 in my life. And I did it 2 times. And when I woke up, I was like, that's it. What am I going to do today? Give it to me. I'm ready.
Take on the world.
I'm ready. Give me the list. Let's go. I don't know how long this will last. Do you consider yourself like a sleep specialist? Because a lot of what you do, even though it is kind of more tongue muscle related, it's so intertwined with sleep. How do you separate the two?
You don't. But the breathing pattern, you have to change it during the day. So I can't say just sleep. I wrote the book because I know that if I change the way I breathe during the day, I can change the way I breathe when I sleep. So a lot of this, yeah, I guess in a way it is sleep specialty, but it's more like, ground zero. If we take in the 3 most important things for a human being to be alive, which is breathing, drinking, and eating. And for some reason, medicine only looks at like, how much water are you drinking? What kind of nutrients are you eating? Like, they ask you, are you breathing functionally? Like through your nose, slow and silent at rest?
Right.
And it was interesting because I've read a lot of Matthew Walker's stuff, and he is a sleep expert. And it was just recently, like in the last 2 years, he has actually started to embrace dysfunctional breathing being one of the conditions that will disturb your sleep quality. It's just really so exciting to see like some of these really big names coming around to it. Like, oh, how you breathe does matter. It will dictate the quality of your sleep. So I can do all the stuff, right? I can get blue light blockers. I can get like these super fancy blankets that change temperature. I can spend all of the money on all these accessories that are supposed to help you sleep better. Like, get the fanciest mattress and the best pillows. But if your tongue and upper airway is weak and not suctioned properly, like to the roof of your mouth, and that tube isn't staying open without resistance to airflow, none of that'll matter because your body's going to prioritize number 1, which is breathing.
Well, Rhonda, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of makes me a little angry because it's like I feel like every answer ends with like, you have to do the work, you have to build the muscle, whether the muscle is like resilience, right? It's like it's always on us, right, to build the muscle. I'm like, I'm so tired of building muscles. Now I got to build my tongue muscle. It's like, what do you say to that when people are just like, I just don't even have it in me to care that much about my tongue. Like, it's just passively in my mouth.
Yep. It's just one more thing. That's why I love, like, in the last 5 years or so, there's so many things coming to market that are passive exercise. Like, for one, I'm a huge fan of the Remplenish Myonozzle. It is passive exercise for your tongue. It isolates the muscles in the back of the tongue, making them stronger. So imagine you have a milkshake and somebody gave you a really tiny coffee straw to drink that milkshake with, and you're trying to pull this thick milkshake up that tiny little tube. That is the same kind of workout you'll get from this nozzle, but instead of an unhealthy milkshake, you get water. And, it's something that you're going to drink anyways. You might as well work out while you're doing it.
Wait, so this is a special cup that you have to buy? Is this like an OT thing, or like who invented this?
Yeah, okay. So, Anders Olsen, I believe is his name. He invented this. So it's interesting. I had a call with him once, and he was at his parents' house, and he saw his parents' dog trying to get treats out of this little dog toy. Like, this peanut butter inside. The dog had to like use his tongue to lick and get in there to get to it. He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, that's exercise, and the dog likes it. Like, the dog is going to do it anyways. He's like, how can I get humans to work out their tongue and not feel like it's a workout? I mean, you're already thirsty.
Oh, that's wild. That's why. How much does this cup cost?
And because it's a therapy tool, anything in medicine is more expensive. I think, like, I have a discount link on my website, but it's $49.95.
Yeah.
I think
Cheaper
it's
than a Yeti.
50. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the most underused tools. I think that medicine right now, they're doing a study at the Mayo Clinic, right? Efficacy study to see like how it's actually helping people breathe better, but it's still new to market. It's one of those things where like everybody's like, show me the science, show me the data. Like, well, we don't have enough yet to show you because there's not enough people using it yet or tracking
I'm
it.
gonna buy this.
It's brilliant. I mean, there's a couple more tools. There's a Myo Munchie. It's bilateral chewing. So it looks like this. It's for those listening, I guess it looks like a mouthpiece with a stick on it. And you chew on it with your lips closed for 15 minutes a day. So it does a bunch of things. It habituates nasal breathing. It helps to strengthen the muscles surrounding your upper airway so they're nice and taut. And it helps to like learn where to put your tongue because it has like a little tab that shows you where to put your tongue. And it has like 15 minutes. And it has these finger-like extensions that massage the gums and cleans your teeth. So again, let's start pairing things.
Okay, good. So can you walk us through a few practical strategies or exercises that listeners, especially those in demand and roles, can start using today, tonight?
Absolutely. I know how much everybody has on their plate. Like they're busy enough, they don't want to add one more thing to it. So if I were to pick 3 things that I could use to work out my upper airway so that I could breathe better while I slept, it would be these 3. It would be the replenished myonozzle. This is from Remastered Sleep. Again, it is a nozzle to work out the back of your tongue because that's where most of us are weak, especially if we've been mouth breathers. Like that's where all the atrophy is. And so this nozzle, 30 to 60 ounces a day. I'm already going to drink water and now I get to work out at the same time. So it's one less thing that I have to like think about. I really like this. There's a discount link on my code. I think you get like 10% off at Airway Champion. And then the next thing I would do is get a Myo Munchie. This is a bilateral mastication appliance. It helps to strengthen the muscles around your upper airway. Remember, the whole goal is to make the tube stay open when we sleep. So that means we have to work on the muscle tone and we have to work on the flow of air coming in and out of our nose. But this is great for bilateral chewing, like 15 minutes a day. I like to pair it with my rebounding. I'm already going to be jumping on the trampoline, so I just throw it in and I jump with it on. It ensures nasal breathing. It helps with posture. Yeah, I like multitask and I'm jump and chew at the same time. It's like that whole thing, like, can you jump and chew bubblegum at the same time? Yeah, I can munchie and jump.
I think I'll use it if my kids, my nerves, I'll use that to, instead of grinding my teeth or saying things I don't want to say, I think I'm just going to pop that in my mouth so I can shut up.
The inventor, believe it or not, he used to sleep in one. It was before they put the little stick on it. But yeah, he totally he's sleeping in this bad boy. I think it's a little too soft and it might actually make some people grind because they're like, oh, I'm going to chew. Because it's really designed to make you want to chew it. So yeah, but it does, it's like, again, it helps. It's only 15 minutes a day, you guys. You can pop it in the car or on the train or, while you're getting ready for bed. Okay, so that's tongue. So the nozzle's for the tongue. The Myo Munchie is for the surrounding muscles of your upper airway. And then if we really want to work on like keeping our lips shut without having to rely on lip tape, the Beauty Balloon. So this is the butterfly tool. There's 2 tools that you can buy. There's a triangle of youth and a butterfly. And both of them are designed, it comes with a whole book of exercises that you can do to strengthen your tongue and lips. So it's really cute because the inventor is a pathologist, and she was struggling to breathe when she slept. So, a lot of these people are brilliant. Like the one who owns the Myo Munchie company now is a chiropractor. This is a medical device specialist. And then we have a doctor. And they're all noticing that we need to work out, but spending that time working out is hard. So again, something you can just put in the car and you can strengthen your lips and tongue. So I'll give you one to strengthen my lips is where you just put the appliance in, the butterfly in, and then you purse your lips around it. And then you could use a triangle if you want to make your tongue stronger, like tongue pull-ups. And they're all surgical grade silicone. I mean, I know everybody's like, I want to get plastic out of my life. I'm like, yeah, but what if this can help you in the interim? Once you get your tongue strong enough to stay suctioned and properly swallowing, like swallowing is a huge factor in keeping the tongue strong. And these things help you learn how to do that if you don't want to go to therapy or you have a really busy life.
Okay, so 2 questions. I know everybody's different, so I'm not looking for hard answers, but roughly, when should people, if they do it every day, like you're saying, roughly start to see some kind of change? And the second question is, once the change happens and you're a nose breather, are you kind of like always a nose breather? Or do you have to keep working the tongue muscles intermittently? Like, does it start to atrophy and then you got to go back to the training again? Or what's the situation?
Well, not once you realize what caused it. The tongue, like I said, the atrophied muscles are a result of mouth breathing. If you stop the mouth breathing and you work on getting the muscle stronger and you're swallowing properly, then the tongue stays strong. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's, I'm not going to lie, you guys. When you go on this journey, you're always going to have a little bit of awareness of where your tongue is. The minute you realize that it was in the middle or the bottom the majority of your life, and then you took all these steps to get it strong enough by eating like tenacious foods and working with these tools or a therapist. And once you do it, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't do a tongue check. At the beginning, you have to do it a lot because neurons that fire together wire together. And so I was doing one, like every time I saw a clock, I would check my tongue posture. And then I was like, okay, got to put it up, got to put it up. Even if it wasn't strong enough, I still wanted to retrain my body to keep it up at rest.
Mm-hmm.
Once the natural rest posture has reset itself, thanks to neuroplasticity,
Mm-hmm.
it'll stay up there. But I think forever, I will always still check in with it, because I don't want to ever go backwards.
Mm-hmm. And so
But it will never get as bad as it was.
yeah, yeah. And so in my experience, I did a few of the exercises and I immediately felt like and I don't think it was placebo. It really happened. I'm breathing out of my nose like consistently all the time. And I'm just like, it feels like such a gift. So, in my experience, I would say it happened immediately for me, the change.
And I have some people, I'm like, do you sleep with your lips open? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, that's not healthy. And then I'll see them again. They're like, yeah, but I sleep with my lips closed now. I'm like, how? They're like, I don't know. I just trained myself. I'm like, I needed tape for that. Like, you're superhuman. That's amazing quality to have.
I did buy the Guru Nanda tape. It's like black. It is ventilated. I can kind of talk. There is like a little slit. I could kind of push my tongue through it if I really wanted to a little bit. And it did work. And I thought, because I do have PTSD, I was like, I am not taping my mouth shut. And I resisted it for a while. And I see all the TikToks and I'm like, these people are nuts. Like I've already got enough trauma. I'm not taping my mouth. But honestly, I really loved it. I love taping my mouth. The only thing is the black rectangle that gets shaped. So I started using jojoba oil and a Q-tip to get it off, and that kind of works pretty well. But I didn't know what your experience was or what you've heard from people with the mouth tape, if it's triggering or how they, remove any residue.
Well, depending on like what circumference tape you need, a lot of times I'll just in the morning, I'll do salt and oil. So like some Celtic sea salt and some olive oil and just a quick little rundown and the adhesive's gone. But as your lips get stronger, you'll require less tape. That's why it's so exciting. Like, you can actually get smaller and smaller because at some point it won't really be to mechanically seal your lips. It'll just be as a reminder.
Yeah, my sister told me she's so nuts. And she's a counselor too. She said, just cut it and then do it like an X so it's in limited space. I'm like, I already don't want to wear tape. I'm going to put an X on my mouth. I mean, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. Oh, man. So for some of these devices, right, for some of us who have had specific traumas or vulnerabilities, sexual abuse, right, who are like, I am not putting that thing in my mouth. I do not want to move my tongue that way. This is triggering something, right? What do you say to that? Is it more of like a stop using it, kind of work with a therapist kind of thing? Or I don't know, have you had anybody give you that kind of feedback?
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that think they're going to suffocate. Like, so here's education is power, you guys. Like, the more you learn about something, the more it makes sense to you. So I would never just tape my mouth because you heard it on a podcast with Ronda and Jennifer. Yeah. I would go in and look at, like, how mouth breathing is so detrimental for your health. And then I'd be like, okay, now I know how bad mouth breathing is, how good tape must be to prevent such a bad thing. And then you're like, well, try circumference tape, you guys. There's one called Myo tape. I think I have a screen or like a little sample guide. I have a bunch of tape that you can use, but Myo tape it's a circumference tape. So it doesn't actually go on your lips. So it just goes around the lips and it creates tension. So it's like kinesiology tape. And so it's just enough tension to prevent you from popping open. But yeah, it's just like a progression, like I said, the stronger your lips get if you do the exercises with things like the beauty balloon and the Mile Munchie. And then eventually, like, you can get all the way down to like just a tiny little sliver. It's like some people do like a 3M micropore, like right there. Because their lips stay shut, they just use it as security.
I've never thought I would see a menu of mouth tape in my life, and I am totally here for it. I am like, I'm moving through the colors in my mind. I'm like, all right, the goal is to get to that black one at the end. Okay, great. That's a lot of steps to get there, but I have a roadmap now. And it's so cool. You have a lot of stuff. You're like, the mad scientist with all the tinkering it. You're opening up drawers and pulling out stuff. So you emphasize the importance of individuals advocating for their own airway health, and you're the first and only person I've ever met who does that, including my sleep specialist pulmonologist. What do you have for people navigating the health system that they may not always recognize or prioritize sleep disordered breathing? Like how to bring, maybe I didn't say that in a good way, but like how do they approach this? Who do they go to first? Should they start with their primary? How do they explain what symptoms should they even tell us? How to tell whoever we need to tell? What would that look like?
So luckily, airway focused dentistry is becoming a mainstream thing. Like, we're the gatekeepers of the airway, really. Like, the dentist can see the signs and symptoms before your MD will. So they'll say, hey, you have some recession. Your front teeth are getting flat. You're clenching and grinding and cracking some of these back teeth. Did you notice this extra bone growing in the bottom of your mouth because of the clenching and grinding? Did you notice your lips are always chapped and you're getting decay? Like, you have a good diet. You do a great job at home brushing and flossing. Why are you still getting decay? And so a lot of times they'll be like, you know what I can do? What I see a lot in airway dentistry right now is they're saying, we understand that the medical system is hard to navigate. What we're doing now is sending you home with a home sleep test. And then we'll send that data to a board certified sleep physician. They'll read the report and they'll send it back to me and I'll interpret it for you. So this is nice. Insurance usually doesn't cover it. It's just they want you to go through an MD, then they want you to get the referral to the sleep physician. This is a really good way for, because a lot of people see the dentist more than they see their regular MD. And so, again, you get to catch these signs before they've broken your body parts, from the nightly asphyxiation. And they've tried to make it easy. And they say, like in my office, you come back with a sleep report, we read it, and it says mild, moderate, or severe obstructive sleep apnea. And then we say, okay, do you want us to send you over and get a CPAP, or do you want to try an oral appliance, or do you want to try and treat the root cause? Like, people should have the ability to choose. Right. Like, I'm not ready to change my lifestyle. I still like drinking every night and smoking, and I don't want to give up these fried foods. And like, okay, well, let's go send you to a CPAP because we don't want you to die early, because sleep apnea will take 7 to 10 years of your life off if you go untreated. So we're like, okay, well, let's go over here. And then we're like, oh, I don't want to sleep with anything on my face. Let me try that appliance that you sleep in, with your mouth. And I'm like, okay, so then they'll try that. And then eventually at some point they're like, you know what? I'm ready to treat my tongue and my upper airway. So let's just do that now. So I think it's back again to empowering people. It's like, okay, you have to advocate for yourself. There's a good chance if you are reliant on medical insurance, they're not going to support you as much as you'd like. Because this is so preventative and insurance isn't really proactive. They're more like disease management. They want you to, they want you to really need them. They don't want to work you out of not needing them. You know what I mean?
Mafia, it's a whole racket. I'm picturing after hearing how many parts have to go into the airway health, my brain immediately wants to start categorizing and organizing and all the TISM stuff I do. And immediately I'm like, we need an airway health center where it's like you have the dentist, you have the speech pathologist, you have the all of these, because I didn't know so many people needed to look inside my mouth.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And, this is a modern epidemic. Like, a lot of us aren't growing a face for airway space. We're pacifiers and bottles and car seats, and we're chewing baby food that's all squishy instead of like tenacious, and our faces just aren't growing the way they used to. Like, it's really sad. We're at a point now where, having your wisdom teeth taken out is like a rite of passage, or having braces put on is just what you do. But nobody's looking back like, this is not normal, you guys. This is a new problem. Like 300 years ago, people didn't have this issue. Like, they could breathe through their nose and their tongue grew their face properly. So it's really sad. Like I always tell people, I'm like, if you have to take your child to get their wisdom teeth out, you need to ask the oral surgeon, why didn't those teeth fit? Did my child's face not grow optimally to fit all their teeth? Because we don't come with extra body parts. And then you ask the orthodontist, hey, why are my kids' teeth crowded like this? And they don't tell you that it's directed by muscle function, then maybe they're not the right guy for you, because there's a chance they'll make the box for your tongue smaller, trying to make the teeth line up and look pretty, instead of like what we call expansion orthodontics, where you make more room for the tongue. Because if your teeth are crooked, then there's less room for your tongue and the roof of your mouth, which makes it not impossible, but more challenging to reset it.
That's exactly what happened to me. They took out teeth to put on braces in my 20s, and it's all back to being, it didn't do what it need, the top looked great, but the bottom not so much. Oh man, it wasn't
the muscles will win. They will move the teeth if you don't address the muscles.
So I do have one more question, a few more questions before we go. One of them, I do like I started to do like mini, like 10-20 minute podcast in between the long form ones that we're doing. So I'm going to release this podcast. The plan is every other Thursday, right? Starting today. So whether it'll be the short form or the long form. So either this Thursday or next Thursday, you're going to get a video, right? In that process, I'm reading materials that apply to trauma, well-being, health, right? So I guess I'm asking permission to read your book during those mini recordings and publish the exercises basically to give people, yeah. And then if you also want to come on and like correct me or help me out with some of them, because maybe I'm like, I have no idea what this is supposed to look like. Maybe we could do like 1 week, like 5 days straight, where we just go through whatever 20 minutes of exercises we can get through every day for like a week, something like that, and share that with people so they have that content too.
Yeah. If people prioritize their sleep breathing, it's so much faster for you to process trauma, because you get the restorative phases of sleep. REM is when your brain cleans itself, and deep is when your body fixes itself. And if you're shortchanging yourself on either of those, it is really hard for you to heal, regardless of what the injury is.
Yeah. So let's end with something for the people who feel overwhelmed, right, by their sleep challenges or have tried multiple treatments without success. Maybe they don't even know, because they don't even know who to go to. What message of hope or encouragement would you offer as they begin the journey towards restorative, trauma-safe sleep?
The hope is, the minute you realize that your sleep breathing might be the reason you don't feel happy and healthy, you have your power back. Even if it's a daunting uphill task to change the way you breathe while you sleep, you know that it will never get as bad as it was. The minute you know that your tongue should be suctioned to the roof of your mouth, your lips should be closed, your top and bottom teeth shouldn't be touching at rest, you should be breathing slow and silent through your nose, you can start the actions that it takes during the day to do that. You can start catching your breath, stop mouth sighing, avoid over breathing. Like if you're sitting there and you can hear your breath, just take a minute, like engage your diaphragm and flare your nostrils and just try to slow that breathing down, because the body doesn't know that you're not running from a tiger when you overbreathe. So I really just breathe for your metabolic need, and then it gets a little bit easier every day.
Okay, say that last part again. I that's so important that I feel like we have to say it again about running from the tiger, something with the breathing. You said it so well that I was like, that I want people to know that.
Well, when you're mouth breathing, you're over breathing, and your body doesn't know that you're not running from a tiger. So it keeps you in chronic fight or flight. And so what you want to do is, when you're just sitting there and you can hear your breathing, you need to engage your diaphragm and open up those nostrils, flare them, and then just try to slow down the breathing, because breathing is rhythmic. And if you change the breathing while you're awake, you can change it while you're asleep. So you definitely, want to breathe for your metabolic need.
So I guess if I'm understanding it correctly, mouth breathing was keeping me in a state of fight or flight outside of all my other triggers and everything I have going on. And now that I'm breathing through my nose more consistently, the better. I took away a factor or a variable that might have been keeping my nervous system dysregulated. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, a human being who lives in chronic dysfunction can't function optimally. And, there's a lot too with the vagus nerve, you guys. There's extensions of the vagus nerve, which is your rest and digest nerve. It kind of sends the signal down your body that we're good. And so a lot of people have really low vagal tone. And when you get your tongue suctioned to your roof of your mouth, it actually stimulates the vagus nerve, keeping you in that nice calm state. Like it's all connected. It'd be easy to be like, oh, this body part, they have nothing to do with each other, but they do.
Wow, this is great. Next time we talk, I will hopefully have electricity and Wi-Fi. Thank you for working through this with me. We'll talk offline, and I'm sure we also have a lot more to talk about online on future podcasts. And I'll share your book and all the links for the discounts and stuff like that. But do you have anything, any that you want to say that maybe I didn't cover?
Just find me on social media. I'm never not talking about this subject, because I think the best way to conquer such an ingrained habit and what we think is going to be such an uphill battle is to learn about it every day, and then be surrounded by other people who are on the same mission you are to change the way they breathe while they sleep, because it's like the power of community. And so I'm never not on social media, like Airway Champion. And I have, if you guys want a consultation, Airway Coach. We could do one-on-ones. We have like a whole video program in there if you want to know what to do. We've got the book, Breathe Better While You Sleep, if you're a reader. Like I'm doing my best to be accessible to anybody and meet them where they're at. You know what I mean? Like it's the whole, like, it needs to be top of mind, and it's not, because you're not going to see a commercial about this, and your MD is probably not going to talk about this. And, like, your kids are going to be mouth breathing and nobody's going to tell them that it's wrong. So again, it's one of those things, like, maybe this is the one pillar to health. Like James Nestor has a book called Breath, the new science of a lost art. And one of the things in the first chapter was, like, no matter how much you diet or exercise, you can't do much if you don't address the first pillar of health, which is functional breathing. Like, you could do all the other things, but you still won't be.
Now I'm picturing Maslow's hierarchy of needs to be readjusted to say, like, strong tongue.
Agreed. Yes.
Like, maybe the
100%. It's the tongue.
pyramid. Maybe the tongue can hold up Maslow's the pyramid.